different forms of child abuse. Yeah, so people recognize the physical abuse more, and the emotional abuse is all around us. Because growing up, there are parents around us too that just say things, words that get to the children, and that's emotional abuse. A lot of people just think it's discipline, or that is normal. That is not normal, and that's something we should actually be conscious of around us. And like you also mentioned, there are different. Like I mentioned, there are different forms, which we also have the child labor, which is very prevalent in Nigeria. Because right now, I think as of 2022, there's a stat that says 39.2 children are into child labor. That is also a form of child abuse. So people see there are various forms of child abuse. We also have the child marriage in the country too, which is kind of prevalent in some parts of the country too. So like you said, I think the question says, how do people see child abuse in different forms? Why is the reporting low? Yeah, if I'm right. So the reporting is low because people sometimes, like you said, mentioned earlier, people are scared. People don't want to face the shame, and people sometimes the bureaucratic processes are quite long to the extent that there are cases that run for about 5 years. Sometimes we've handled some cases like that take up to 4 years, 5 years. So people get tired of reporting this type of issues when they notice around them too. And people also feel like the perpetrators are not punished, which is also a lie. If this is if the case is followed through, trust me, the perpetrators are punished. And there's this misconception of the culture, like people think it's normal. Like for instance, early child marriage, people think it's a religious thing. That's a misconception. It is not a religion. It's not a religious thing, rather. It is something that is wrong, and it's not. The religion does not support child marriage. In the Quran, in the Bible, none of this support child marriage. You can go through and confirm all this. So these are reasons why people see child abuse in different form and don't want to report. So at the point where it becomes child labor is when a child is supposed to be in school. Going to school is a basic right of a child. There are so many rights that a child has, but basically four: the right to survival, the right to participation, the right to play, the right to education. These are rights that a child has. So when a child is supposed to be in school and the child is not in school, okay, that can be considered as child labor. There are other things like there was this period that the early schools, they were on strike. Some children were in school, and we saw these children on the streets. Although some of them, I was around, I talked to a lot of these children, and most of them wanted to be back in school. So, and they had to help their parents. But then we can't blame these children. That's also a form. They are supposed to be in school. Imagine they are in school and their parents putting them on drill. That is when it's child labor. But at this point, they just had to help their parents. And I think in the Labour Act, a child is supposed to have a minimum of 9 years of education. When you deprive a child of this education, when you take probably 3 years or 6 years out of these 9 years, and you are forcing this child to learn a trade or to go into child labor, working on the street, and not giving the child the education the child needs, that is considered to be child labor. So I think there are other things that we should also consider. We should also consider when a child is below the age of, I think, 15 to 16. That's when a child is supposed to start working, and that's after like 9 years of education that we talked about that a child is supposed to have. So these are things that we should look out for. And for the response part, you should, when you see a case of child abuse, you should actually take the child first. The child is the main priority there, because you just have to find a way to rescue the child. If you can't do it alone, there are agencies that you can reach out to. You can walk into the Federal Ministry of Women Affairs. They have a unit there where you can report these cases. You can report to the police. You can report to NAPTIP. There are lines that you can call. There are social media pages you can also reach out to report these cases.